Hi, I'm Naturopathic Dr. Joël, and you're watching Revive Life on Rogers TV. Today, we are talking about attention deficit disorder. Do you or your child have difficulty with sitting in one place, reduced patience, paying attention to details, making careless mistakes, following instructions completely, and losing or forgetting your schoolwork? Does this lead to notes coming home from the teacher asking for you to speak to your child's doctor about ADHD? And then does this result in a wave of anxiety because you also struggled in school with attention? You may then find yourself asking, would it be a bad idea to consider medication? Well, proper assessment with a neuropsychologist is important, and there are natural options that can help with ADD and ADHD. It seems that ADHD is the childhood epidemic of our age, and it has been estimated that as many as 20% of children currently in school exhibit either one. What is also important to consider is that if you are an adult with chronic fatigue, anxiety, or difficulties focusing, you may also possibly have ADD or ADHD. Because there are no definitive tests or known biological markers to diagnose one with ADD, physicians base their diagnosis on 3 levels. The first is 4 points, and those are inattentiveness, distractibility, impulsivity, and fourthly, hyperactivity. The second level is exhibiting poor performance at school, poor relations with family, peers and teachers, and low self-esteem. The third level is basically when you experience those symptoms in greater than one setting. So for example, in school and then perhaps in one of your sports activities. And the symptoms are also present under the age of 7, and the symptoms are persistent for at least 6 months. So this is important information. Today, our guests will help share important resources to understand this topic more. We have a full panel of national experts today. Sylvie Diori, who's going to speak about her experience of adult diagnosed ADD. And we also have Paul Madal from the Listening Center in Toronto teaching us the difference between hearing and listening. Dr. Michael Lyon, who'll be speaking to us about some of the potential causes of ADD, and Catherine Lesage from Little Feet Yoga with wonderful exercise opportunities and options. Now, to test your Revive Life IQ, get your pens and papers out. True or false? Is there a connection with the gut, the immune system, and the brain? Number 2, trans fats are stressful to the brain. Number 3, probiotics can be helpful to those with ADD. And number 4, it is recommended for anyone with ADD to be tested for food allergies or sensitivities. Lastly, number 5, it is important to avoid food additives such as sodium benzoate and yellow dye number 5, which is also known as tartrazine. So now that we understand why we should be concerned, what are the things that we can actually do? Well, our top 10 countdown for ADD begins with tip number 10. Vetiver is an essential oil that was found to be 100% effective in the subjects from a trial by Dr. Friedman to improve ADD and ADHD activity and brainwave scans. This grass has a wonderful, pleasant, and mild, earthy smell, which has a cooling effect on the body and on the mind. And just the smell of it has almost a magical activity to calm over-energized kids. Tip number 9. We also have another wonderful essential oil, which is cedarwood. And cedarwood was also found to be extremely effective, and this one actually would be used more when there is a genetic predisposition or a link, because as we understand, there is probably a genetic predisposition to ADD. And in oils, you want to make sure that you're choosing a high quality oil. Lavender, for example, was also shown to be effective, but it is one of the most common oils that are available. And so you want to make sure you're using a high quality and look for therapeutic oil. Rubbing a few drops on a child's feet, shoulders, or chest, or even at the back of the neck can actually help in terms of calming, improving focus and concentration. So now what we want to understand is that these oils are wonderful to be used, and I'm now joined in the studio audience with a wonderful guest, Sylvie Diori. Thank you for joining us here. And Sylvie, you're here to help shed some light on adults with attention deficit. So can a person go throughout their whole lifetime without understanding and knowing that they may potentially have it?
Well, that was my case. I recently was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder.
Yes.
But all my life, I didn't know. I knew, though, that there was something wrong.
Yes.
I knew that there was something with me, but and I've been looking for it all my life.
Yes.
We've looked at the thyroid function. We thought maybe it's simply depression, because at some point dealing with ADD brings a lot of fatigue.
Yes.
And that can lead to depressive feelings.
Or anxiety for that matter
and anxiety,
as well.
a
Yes.
lot of anxiety also.
Yes, exactly.
Stress and anxiety. So I've been looking for that all my life. And in fact, it's more in my adulthood that I was feeling the symptoms. But to be diagnosed as ADDer, you have to have had the condition as a child.
Okay.
I've been
Persistent.
evaluated.
Yes.
And basically what happened is that I had ADD as a child, but was not diagnosed. I was going under the radar.
Yes.
Because it seems that I was intelligent enough to deal with the situation. But in the adulthood, because there was less repetition of the information I had to store in my brain, it became more stressful. I was getting more anxious and more tired because of the coping mechanism I had to go through. And that's where really I knew there was something wrong, and I started to look for what was happening.
Okay, so that's very important. Now, so if we have viewers who are at home thinking, maybe I have this, what are the key symptoms that a person might have as an adult?
Well, the first thing is that in the brain, it's as if a hamster is always running. And we know that everybody will say they have that, but for an ADDer, it's all the time. You cannot stop. Even when you are rested, it still functions.
Yes.
And one thing that will happen is every new thing that will come to my attention becomes the new priority.
Absolutely.
So I will start some work, but as soon as something else will come, an idea or an interruption, I will turn to that, and it becomes my new priority.
Okay.
So it will lead to procrastination. Mm-hmm. It will lead to never finishing what you need to finish, the task you need to finish. And the worst situation for an ADDer is to be left alone in a room with some work to do. That's the most awful thing that can happen.
Well, we could talk all day about this.
Yes.
So we'll have more information and resources for adults with ADD online, including books and resources that you've brought. So what we'd like to share with you as well is that on our December 20th show, we actually have wonderful prizes, and we are going to have our top 10 eco-wellness gifts. We're also going to be drawing them, so you have the opportunity to win a wonderful gift basket with eco-friendly bento box and water container. We have a Mavia water filter donated from Rainbow Health Food Store, and wonderful Revolution makeup products. So you want to make sure that you catch that show. And coming up next, we have Paul Medall from the Listening Center, and he's going to teach us the difference between listening and hearing. So please stay tuned, and we'll have more on ADD. Thank you.